Hello and welcome to Lincoln to Local. I'm Rachel Havens, and today I've got Steve Thompson here with me from our Public Policy Department. And Steve, we are in the home stretch of the 2022 legislative session. Will you tell us a little bit about the budget that they released this week?
It's big news early on this week, as we expected, getting close to the end of session, that there's been an announcement by the House and Senate that they have the framework for a major budget deal worked out, and we're not sure where the governor stands on that. There's been some tension between the legislature and the governor, but the legislature is moving forward to pass funding for all the state agencies and the rest of the government this year. And we expect that that'll be completed before this week is over. There were a number of things we were very excited about in there for agriculture and rural Oklahoma. We'd been working with the Oklahoma State University College of Veterinary Medicine to secure some additional funding for an assessment that they're looking to undergo to see what kind of needs that they have for the future, as well as their partners across the street with the Animal Disease Diagnostic Laboratory that has been very critical for our livestock producers for a long time, and they had some budget shortfalls, so they saw a little bit of an increase as well, so we were very happy that that priority was addressed. We were also very excited to learn that rural fire grant, operational grants through the Department of Agriculture would see a significant increase, potentially as much as double what they've received in the past, an average of around $10,000 per department. And that's very critical in areas of our state where they don't have a major urban fire protection response units available. That those small departments rely on fundraisers and primarily that operational grant from the state enable to operate. So that was very good news, and particularly as you look to some of western Oklahoma that has been and is still in a drought. And that's the other highlight for us was $3 million for an emergency drought relief fund that would be housed at the Oklahoma Water Resources Board and spent in cooperation with the Conservation Commission and the Department of Ag. Should things continue to get worse this summer in western Oklahoma, there would be some money somewhat pre-staged if we needed to address some real disasters out there. Typically, we respond through the federal government. It takes quite a while to get money onto the ground, and this will be some stuff that's ready to go out there to help folks with pond clean out and water for livestock and other small community needs. So overall, we feel like that there were a few of the priorities that we had been working on all session were addressed by the legislature, so we were happy to see that.
That's great news. I know in addition to the budget, state lawmakers also announced a special session starting this week. Will you tell our members a little bit about that?
It was a very unusual move. They called the middle of this week. They announced that the House and Senate would be initiating a special legislation to run concurrently with the regular session now. That's something we commonly see during other times of the year to address unusual circumstances. This is geared towards changing the way the state is handling the federal American Rescue Plan Act funds. Oklahoma is receiving $1.9 billion from the federal government after Congress passed some stimulus relief funding a couple years ago through the COVID pandemic. And they were going to rewrite the way that program works because they were having a disagreement with the governor over how those money were to be spent, and so they are now working concurrently with the regular session to change the rules for how we spend that money so that things could move along a little faster. The governor and the legislature was involved in a negotiation over the budget that really bled off over into the federal funding, and so it was really an unprecedented move to try to rewrite that at this stage in the game, and so. There's been some late nights at the Capitol this week, and everyone's still trying to sort through that. But we believe that concurrent session will continue on for the next couple of weeks and potentially on to the summer as they continue to work to try to see how that federal stimulus money is spent.
Interesting. Well, will you give our members an update on some of those final bills that we've been tracking this session?
Well, throughout the year, we've talked a lot about medical marijuana and the regulatory framework that we were trying to work to improve for the greater good of rural Oklahoma and the state as a whole. And there's still a number of bills that are working their way through the process as we near the finish line here. And so we're still optimistic. There seems like there's been a number of challenges as we've worked through that. That process started off very smooth early on, and then it hit a few setbacks earlier this month. But But we've had a lot of good friends and a lot of good work done at the legislature and with some of our partner organizations. And so there's a number of our priorities that we've talked about throughout the year that are still pending. And we feel like that at the end of the day, we still have an opportunity to get probably as many as 6 of those bills. We started with probably 40 on our list, and we narrowed that down to our top 12. And now we're probably in the 4 to 6 range, but we think that there's going to be a few priorities handled in there. A couple of things have worked their way through to completion, and I think the highlight of that would be that the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority that's housed at the health department and has had some logistical issues in operating full speed, they're going to now become their own standalone agency so that they can focus solely on that business and not be tied up with some of the other functions of the health department. So that was seen as a positive thing. And then there's another bill that would increase the penalty for illegal sales of marijuana. That was one of the things that in the state question had a very, very minor penalty, probably softer than a speeding ticket if you were to sell marijuana illegally, and so they put a little bit more teeth in that, and both of those have crossed the finish line and been signed by the governor. So there have been some things accomplished there, but we're still working on a few more. And there's a couple of bills related to county assessors that we've talked about throughout the year that have become very controversial and have got bogged down in the process. And there's two bills still pending out there, and so we think by the time that they close things out, those will get a couple more votes, and we'll hopefully have some more good news for our members after we finally see the dust settle with this session.
That's great. Well, I know that Farm Bureau has been very busy up at the Capitol, but the last few weeks we've also been very busy with our Political Action Committee meetings around the state. Will you give us an update on those meetings?
That's right. Our 9 districts around the state over the last couple of weeks have met with a county representative from each county in their district there to go over the list of candidates running for state and federal office. And so we were really fortunate to have such great participation from the counties and very robust discussion. And we've elected our 9 representatives that will serve as our state PAC committee, and they'll be meeting here very soon to look at making some disbursements and endorsements. And so that's really been a highlight of May for us, is getting to travel around the state and work with our members on the upcoming election season. And that group will be gathering here in Oklahoma City very, very soon and looking at the master list of candidates and races. And so we'll have some exciting announcements in the coming weeks about who Farm Bureau is going to support this year.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Steve, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Lincoln to Local.